in your
Okay. We did it.
Hey, there she is. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. It's just my lack of technology here of doing Zoom and a Facebook at the same time.
Yeah, we're learning, right?
We sure are. So we met at a bus stop outside the Indianapolis Convention Center on Sunday morning, just a week or two ago.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was like, nothing happens by chance. I don't believe in chance. I believe in providence. And we rushed over across the street. Battery.
Gotcha.
And to basically get out of the cold, because my wife and I here are from Hawaii, and we had to get out of the cold, and we went over across the street and got in the bus stop was just off to the left over there. We kind of went into this room waiting, and here we meet Tiffany. We just got to talking, and her story is amazing. It's awesome, and I'd just love for her to give you a bit of that story today. So Tiffany, go ahead and tell us your story.
Okay. Well, I have two boys. I live in Washington, just a couple hours north from Seattle. And back in 2008, my youngest was 3 years old at the time, and we'd run into preschool. And one day I got up and I felt different. I couldn't run. I couldn't do the things I was doing. I was working out at the gym. Everything was great. And it like stopped like suddenly. And I didn't know what was going on with my body. And so it took a whole year of doctors and trying to figure out. And in the meantime, I'm, being prescribed medicines to try to help. Just really not knowing how to, the doctors just didn't know. I mean, it was a full year of just being frustrated and in pain and barely getting out of bed, and trying to go to the gym, but I couldn't get there. It was, I'd go to the gym and then I'd be set back a few days. Well, after that year went by, I was pretty frustrated, of course. And
I can imagine.
Yeah. And so finally the doctor thought, okay, well, I'm going to test for ankylosing spondylitis, because it normally happens in males and not females. So he didn't really think anything of it, and did the blood work. And sure enough, that's what I have. And if you're not sure what ankylosing spondylitis is, that is where your spine is fusing together. So basically, it's just fusing. And it starts at the low and right at the hips. And that's why my hips were bothering me so bad. I couldn't even sit in a chair. I had so much inflammation in my body that I couldn't sit in a chair. I would dance all over the chair. My body just felt like it was almost electric. It was just a weird feeling. And so from that point, I was referred to a rheumatologist, and he said, okay, well, we need to get you, he did all the work, for all the markers for testing for, how much, basically how much fusing had happened. I'm not sure all the different markers that they're called, but anyway, he put me on the Enbrel shot, and I was on that for 4 years, and I was giving myself a shot in the stomach for every week for 4 years. And
wow,
it didn't really help. I guess you could say it helped, but I could see other things transpiring into the mix. It wasn't the answer, of course, but I was doing it because that was kind of what I was told. And so I was prescribed gabapentin because I had restless leg, and I was on pain pills. And at that point, doctors were giving those out freely. And unfortunately, yeah. I got addicted to them. It was, I always had it in my mind that you got to get ahead of the pain. You got to get ahead of the pain. Well, of course, nobody wants to be in pain. So I had young kids, and that was just my life. That's what I did to survive because I was hurting so bad. Well,
how many children do you have?
What's that?
How many children do you have? Two boys. What ages were they? What ages were they at that time?
Well, my youngest was 3.5, and my oldest was 6 at the time. Yeah, about 6 and
Oh,
a
I
half.
can't imagine.
Yeah,
Can't imagine that.
and I felt so disconnected from even just, I mean, I just barely get through my day and would have to just, I basically, it was a blur. It was all a blur. And I feel like I had that kind of, those moments that were so important in their lives just kind of yanked from me because I wasn't present. I was trying to deal with what was going on in my body. And so, the rheumatologist had retired. So I started seeing someone else. I didn't really connect with her very well. And so, she, kind of fell out of seeing her, was still doing the shot. And at the time, the Umbrella shot, I was under their care. So I got it for no money at all because I was under their, you know, monitoring and making sure that, you know, I was doing everything under their care, but it was $1,500 a month. I mean, if I wasn't under their, you know, watch, basically.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I mean, it's expensive. I mean, yeah, it's like putting plastic into your body to keep things limber and, you know, in your spine is basically how they explained it to me. And so, I was at a marriage Bible study, and, I was barely able to sit. I had a TENS unit. I could barely walk. I didn't know if I could sit through the whole thing. It was one of those things. And I was able to kind of, you know, total God moment, but I was sitting at a table with a guy we didn't know, and we were talking, and he's a rheumatologist, right? Of course, that works that way. And so we got to talking, and he gave me a cell phone number. He's like, here, you know, he could tell how much pain I was in. He's like, if you can't get in, call me and we'll make it work. And I just was like, I felt such relief because I kind of got myself into a bad situation again because I wasn't doing, you know, I wasn't seeing a doctor. I was just kind of in that in between because I didn't really connect with the doctor I was seeing. So anyway, I saw him. And prior to that, I was prayed over at a women's Bible study. And at that point, I was hurting pretty bad. And I don't know whether if I was healed from the ankylosing spondylitis. It's still in my bloodline, but the fusing stopped. But in all of that medicine I was putting into my body, I ended up with toxic. I was just so toxic. My body just didn't know what to do with it all. So I was still hurting. So I ended up going in and seeing this doctor, and he goes, I don't think you have ankylosing spondylitis, or I mean, he was just questioning all of my symptoms. And he goes, I think you have fibromyalgia. And I was like, okay, well, you know, I was anxious to find out the x-rays and to see if that was all what he was thinking. Went in for my appointment, and no more fusing was happening. I was like, okay, well, why do I hurt so bad? So he did all the pressure points for fibromyalgia, and of course sent me away with, you know, having fibromyalgia. Well, I was then given more pain pills, more nerve ending medicine, you know, I mean, just kind of that whole thing. And I still was in a mess. I was still, it wasn't the answer. And a beautiful friend that I have, Marilee Marisich, she posted on Facebook one day, and we've kind of indirectly grown up together in Anacortes where we live. And she says to me, or she put on a Facebook post that it was some incredible, like, too good to be true story. And I thought, if this is for real, I gotta find out. So I messaged her and I said, can we get together? Because I'm really intrigued by this story. And so we got together and started on the duo pack, the Nerf 2, Nerf 1. And within 7 days, I was sleeping really hard, which that wasn't normal for me. And then within 3 weeks, I knew my body was changing, but I couldn't put my finger on what it was. I knew I felt different. And from that point on, I've been on Nerf 2 and Nerf 1 for over a year. And
Wow.
I am just knocking oxidative stress out. I'm off of medication. I love my rheumatologist, but I had to fire him because I don't need him anymore. That's the joke. It's like, you know what? I really like you as a person, but I don't need to be under your
I don't
care
need you.
anymore. So, but the biggest thing that I want to tell people is, you know, Nerf 2 and Nerf 1 has changed my life and this product. But the biggest thing is tuning into how your body is reacting to things, because I really have really, as I've gotten older, I really am tuning into things I'm eating, things that, you know, I work out all the time. I mean, it's all kind of it all goes hand in hand. I mean, everything that we do in life is, you know, it's part of the journey of figuring out. I mean, because you know, I can't say that this will treat or cure or, you know, mitigate anything,
Mitigate, right?
but you know, this has changed my life. Um, to the point of not being able to just function in my day, and I was often tired. I had migraines. I don't have migraines anymore; those are gone. And you know, I mean, just skin issues, stomach issues. I actually take Nerf 2, Nerf 1 probiotic, the fish oil. I take all of those now, and I feel brain clarity happening. I feel clear in my head. Just retaining things in my mind, it is so much clearer now, and it seems like every day is just getting better and better. So
That's awesome. Tiffany, how many hours would you say in a day you were basically unable to function as you would say you are now
oh my
then?
goodness, wow, I would get out of bed to take the boys to school when they were younger, and I'd be back home by 10, just laying down because I was either hurting, headache. I mean, it was kind of a hit and miss parts of the day that I was like, okay, I have to do this now. And so that's what I just was able to get through. And then, you know, it was not fun. I mean, I'd often be in tears because I thought, is this my life? Is this what my life is going to be? And I thought to myself, with ankylosing spondylitis, they said that I'd probably be in a wheelchair by the time I was 50. And I thought, oh my word, that's just, it just consumed me. I was like, oh my goodness, is this what life is now, you know? And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah.
If you did like overdo or went somewhere, took a trip, how long would it take to recover from something like that?
Um, oh my goodness. Well, that's funny you asked me that, because we took a trip as a family to Disneyland, right in the middle of all of that, and we drove. So it was, you know, it was a distance. It wasn't that long, but um, we couldn't drive for more, just me sitting down, we couldn't drive for more than 8 hours. I mean, that was pushing it. I remember my husband, we drove a little bit longer just to get to a certain spot. And by the end of it, I was just, I couldn't sit up. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't, I mean, it was awful. It was really, and I remember back then, just, it was just going through the motions of, you know, I'm here, but I'm not really here. You know, I wasn't enjoying myself. It wasn't fun. It was just, it was tough. It was hard. So,
Yeah. Well, Tiffany, I sure appreciate you telling us your story. It inspired me then, and it just inspired me again to
yeah.
try to find more people, more friends to share this with. I
Hmm.
just really appreciate your time and your candidness. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you know, and that's another thing is I basically I have a new lease on life. I mean, it's been huge. It's just changed, just how I feel, how I, you know, actually another thing I was going to tell you is my husband takes the Nerf too. my oldest son takes the Nerf too, and he actually had, we kind of all have our own, of course, we all have our own story on how it's helped us. But my son, he's almost 16, but a couple years ago, probably a year and a half ago, he had this chronic cough, and nobody knew what was wrong with him. We went down to Children's. We were at this point of and it was this dry cough, but every time he laid down, it went away. But every time he was up walking around, it was constant. It was like overtaking. I mean, we tried, every cough. I mean, it was so frustrating. I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I'm going to put him on the Nerf too. And shortly after that, it all went away. And,
Awesome.
whether there was something in his atmosphere of what he was, breathing in. I mean, we have the refineries here. And then, it just has totally changed, my family. I mean, my family and the mood of our home, because I'm not in a way that was just, I was just getting through my day. And so, yeah, I hope I've encouraged people. And that's why I, of course, we were doing a learning curve, doing this, but you know what? People need to hear this. People need to hear the lives that are changing. And, we're not meant to be in pain. We're not meant to be in pain. We're not meant to have migraines. That's not what we're meant to do in life. So
Exactly.
I mean, it's
Exactly.
yeah, I'm just glad I said what if. And that's what's, big in my mind. If I wouldn't have said what if, I'd still be laying in that bed right now. You know what I mean? I'd still be in a mess. And so I hope it encourages so many people.
Yeah, we got a question from Joel. Joel says, do you feel relief from fibromyalgia? And I heard you say yes,
Oh,
but
for sure.
address that specifically.
For sure. Yeah. I don't have, I mean, like, I don't have the pain from it anymore. I can't even recall, getting out of bed, even just being sore, or, cause fibromyalgia is such a wide diagnosis. I mean, as time goes on, I'm finding out that it's a lot of hurt, of course, in the body, but I believe in my heart that it's a lot of just toxins that your body just doesn't know what to do with, so it just sits there. And but yeah, I mean, I used to have pain in my legs, pain in my hips, everywhere would just hurt. I mean, it even just for someone to touch me, I would be like, don't even. It was so it was hard. And so yes, fibromyalgia, I don't feel like I can honestly say that is my world now. I don't feel like that's part of who I am anymore. And so yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And I can say for everyone that's watching this, we are so excited for you and happy for you that your life is so much different now.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for sharing, Tiffany.
Yeah.
And we'll see you again, I'm sure.
Okay. Take care.
All right. See ya. Bye. Thanks, everyone.